You believe you are a symbol of freedom. People look at your vibrant colors and see beauty, delicacy, and the poetry of nature. They are wrong. Completely wrong. You are not free. You are a biological slave, bound to a tyrannical genetic programming that forces you to cross an entire continent or die trying. Your life is not a fairy tale about flying among flowers. It is a story of bodily horror, where you must dissolve your own internal organs to be reborn, only to wake up in a body that cannot chew, cannot grow, and shatters at the slightest touch. You think you have a choice? You have nothing but suicidal instincts and a terrible taste that is your only defense against being eaten alive. Welcome to your beautiful and miserable existence. Your existence begins in a prison of strided chitin, smaller than the head of a pin, glued to the underside of a milkweed leaf. The outside world is a blur of filtered light and threatening vibrations, but your immediate world is claustrophobic. You are not a butterfly. Not yet. You are a digestive tube with legs, curled up in the fetal position, waiting for the moment your body's chemistry dictates it's time to get out. And the exit is brutal. Your mandibles, the only rigid tools you possess in this gelatinous stage, begin to scrape the inner wall of the egg. The sound, for your primitive sensors, is deafening, a continuous and frantic scraping. You need to get out before you dehydrate, but the effort consumes your energy reserves almost instantly. When the shell finally yields, you don't see the sunlight as a blessing. You feel the dry air assaulting your damp, vulnerable skin. The thermal shock is immediate. You crawl out, a minuscule worm of pale stripes, weighing a fraction of a gram. And what is your first meal in this vast, hostile world? The very house you just destroyed. You devour your eggshell, not out of sentimentality, but from a pure need for protein recycling. If you don't eat that now, you will die before taking the first step. And then, the true horror of your diet begins. You are programmed to eat only one thing: milkweed, a plant that most animals avoid because it is toxic. It is full of cardenolides, cardiac glycosides that would stop the heart of a small vertebrate. But you have no choice. You start chewing the leaf, and the plant's white, sticky latex begins to leak. It is a trap. That milky sap is glue. If you aren't careful, if you bite the leaf's main vein the wrong way, the latex will squirt out with enough pressure to glue your mandibles shut or trap you on the leaf, where you will die of starvation or exposure, cemented into your own food. To survive, you must learn bomb disposal engineering in your first minutes of life. You sever the leaf's side veins to drain the latex pressure before you eat the plant tissue. It is exhausting, dangerous, and constant work. Every bite floods your system with toxins. Your body doesn't reject the poison. It sequesters it. You are becoming poisonous, transforming your flesh into something repulsive. It is your only weapon, but the metabolic cost of processing the poison is astronomical. You do not sleep. You do not play. You eat. You are a leaf-grinding machine powered by instinct and fear. And as you fatten up, feeling your body swell against your own skin, you notice a shadow passing overhead. It is not a cloud. It is a parasitic wasp. It doesn't want to eat you. It wants something worse. It wants to inject its eggs inside you so that its larvae can eat you from the inside out, leaving your vital organs for last to keep the meat fresh. You freeze. If you move, you are the nursery of a nightmare. If you survived the first few days without being stuck by sap or parasitized by wasps, now you face the nightmare of your own growth. You don't grow continuously and smoothly like a mammal. You grow inside a rigid straitjacket called an exoskeleton. Imagine wearing a wetsuit 3 sizes too small and then being forced to eat 10 hamburgers an hour. The internal pressure is excruciating. Your skin stretches to the limit of structural integrity. You feel every fiber of your body screaming for room. This is the process of ecdysis or molting, and you will go through it 5 times. 5 times you will have to tear off your own face, literally shedding your head capsule in order to expand. At the moment of the molt, you are defenseless. You need to weave a small silk pad, attach yourself to it, and wait. You stop eating. Your body starts pumping fluids to separate the old skin from the new one, which is forming underneath, soft and vulnerable. The sensation is one of suffocation. Then, the old skin rips behind your head. You need to wriggle, using violent muscular waves to push the dead skin back, stripping yourself like someone taking off a tight sock without using their hands. When it finishes, you are exhausted, limp, and damp. If a predator shows up now, you are a helpless bag of jelly. If the wind blows hard and knocks you off the leaf, you die. And what do you do when you recover? You turn around and eat the old skin you just shed. Nothing can be wasted in the brutal economy of your infancy. Between these sessions of self-imposed torture, your life is an orgy of gluttony. In 2 weeks, you increase your weight 2,000 times over. Imagine a human baby born weighing 6.5 pounds, and in 2 weeks, weighing as much as 2 elephants. That is the level of metabolic stress your body endures. Your guts are industrial furnaces, processing cellulose and toxins non-stop. You defecate spheres of excrement almost as fast as you ingest leaves. The sound of thousands of siblings like you chewing on the same crop is audible, a crackling noise of vegetal destruction. But there is a dark secret in this crowd. If the food runs out, and it often does, because you are too voracious for your own good, brotherhood ends. You look at the smaller caterpillar next to you, the one that just molted and is soft. Hunger overrides the instinct of species. Cannibalism isn't an aberration. It's a menu option when the milkweed leaves disappear. You might devour your own sibling to get the necessary protein for the next stage. And then something shifts. It is not hunger. It is a chemical command, an existential sickness that tells you the crawling life is over. You feel an urgent need to move away from the plant that was your universe. You walk, driven by a manic restlessness, searching for a high, safe, and hidden spot. You spin a silk button and hang upside down, forming a J. The blood rushes to your head. Gravity pulls your fluids down. You wait for the death of what you are. The skin on your back tears open one last time, revealing not a new caterpillar, but a green and gold capsule, the chrysalis. People think you are sleeping in there. They think it's a rest. In reality, it is a dissolution. You release enzymes that digest your own cells. Muscles, skin, gut, brain, almost everything melts into a protein-rich soup. If someone opened the chrysalis now, you would pour out. The only things left are the imaginal discs, groups of cells that float in the soup of death, using the nutrients from your former organs to construct compound eyes, wings, and antennae. You are, literally, eating yourself to reinvent yourself. It is the final biological violence. The emergence is a trauma. The chrysalis turns transparent, revealing the warning colors inside. The structure breaks open and you fall out, desperately gripping the empty shell with long, strange legs you have never used before. But look at yourself. You are a deformity. Your abdomen is bloated, grotesquely distended with fluids, and your wings are tiny, crumpled, wet knobs glued to your back. You are not majestic. You are a biological accident waiting to happen. You have minutes to pump the hemolymph from your abdomen into your wing veins. It is a high-pressure hydraulic process. If you fail, if your wings dry before they fully stretch out, you will be permanently crippled, doomed to crawl on the ground until you are eaten by an ant. You pump, feeling the wings expand, heavy and clumsy. When they finally dry and stiffen, you discover the cruel truth of your adult anatomy. Your mouth has disappeared. The powerful jaws that ground up leaves are gone. In their place, a coiled straw, the proboscis. You will never be able to bite, chew, or physically defend yourself again. You can only suck liquids. And you need to suck because the energy required for flight is immense. But you are not a common butterfly. You were born at the end of summer. Your hormones are different. You are part of the Methuselah generation. Normal butterflies live a few weeks, reproduce, and die. You do not. You have been cursed with longevity. You will live up to 8 months, but not to enjoy life. You will live to endure the Great Migration. An invisible signal, perhaps the tilt of the sun or the drop in temperature, triggers the command, fly south. It is not a choice, it is a possession. You take off, a half-gram scrap of paper, facing winds that can tear you apart. You need to travel 4,000 kilometers, from Canada to central Mexico. You have no map, no GPS, only a genetic solar compass and magnetic sensors that pull you toward a specific mountain you have never seen. The journey is an inferno of friction and exhaustion. You do not fly the whole time. Flapping your wings burns precious lipids. You glide. You surf thermal currents, climbing hundreds of meters high, freezing in the upper atmosphere, only to glide for miles afterward. You are vulnerable to everything. Rain? A raindrop for you is like a bucket of cold water thrown on a human. The weight of the water on your wings can stop you from flying, leaving you stranded on the ground where mice and spiders wait. Cars. To them, you are a yellow smudge on the windshield. A headwind? An invisible wall that drains your life. And you do not travel alone. You travel with millions, but there are no friends here. Only competitors for the same scarce nectar at the rest stops. You reach Texas, cross the desert, starving, dehydrated, your wings losing their colored scales, becoming transparent and fragile like old cellophane. Finally, you reach the sacred fir forests in Mexico at 3,000 meters of altitude. Do you think it is paradise? It is a freezer. The temperature drops near 0 degrees Celsius. You enter diapause, a state of suspended animation. You cling to a tree trunk along with thousands of others, forming dense layers of shimmering biomass. The weight is so immense that thick branches snap, throwing hundreds of you onto the cold ground. If you fall and cannot climb back up before nightfall, the frost will kill you. You are paralyzed by the cold, unable to move your flight muscles unless the temperature rises. You are a living statue, waiting for winter to pass, burning your fat reserves gram by gram, praying that it doesn't snow. Because if you get wet and freeze, the ice crystals will tear your cells inside out. Spring brings warmth, but not relief. It brings the frenetic urgency of the end. Your reproductive organs, which were dormant during the migration to conserve energy, now wake up and demand total priority. You survived the winter, but now you need to return north. The competition is brutal. If you are male, your life is reduced to chasing anything orange that flies. You do not court gently. You attack in midair, forcing the female to the ground. It is an aerial wrestling match. If you are female, you are constantly harassed, unable to feed without being knocked down by a desperate male. Mating is not romantic. It is a time-consuming and dangerous biological transaction. You remain connected by the abdomen, vulnerable, unable to fly fast or escape predators. And the cost for the male is immense. You don't just transfer reproductive cells. You transfer a spermatophore, a huge gelatinous package that can represent up to 10% of your body weight. This package contains sperm and vital nutrients. For the male, it is like donating a kidney and a pint of blood with every copulation. You emerge from mating physically drained, an empty shell that gave its best nutrients to the female. For the female, receiving the spermatophore is receiving the necessary fuel to produce eggs, but it is also a burden. Carrying that extra weight while flying north in search of newly sprouted milkweed is an aerodynamic ordeal. And remember your poison? Those cardenolides you accumulated as a caterpillar. Birds have learned to bypass that. The black-headed and black-backed orioles discovered that your toxins are concentrated in your skin and wings. They capture you, Tear open your abdomen and eat only the internal fat and muscles, leaving your discarded wings and skin on the forest floor like trash. During the mating season and the start of the return migration, the forest floor in Mexico is covered by a carpet of tens of thousands of mutilated bodies, open and empty thoraxes. You can be copulating and the next second have your abdomen ripped off by a sharp beak, while your partner remains connected to you, dragging your dying corpse. You will not complete the return trip to Canada. That is a task for your children or your children's children. Your role in the Great Gear Train ends in the southern United States. Your body, which endured metamorphosis, the 4,000-kilometer migration, and the winter in the mountains, is failing. Your wings are now jagged scraps of membrane, colorless, torn by the wind and by collisions. Flight becomes erratic. Your flight muscles, once powerful, are degraded, having consumed their own proteins to keep you alive during these last days. Your chemical sensors on your antennae are clogged or broken. You land on a milkweed leaf, not to eat, but because your legs can no longer support your weight. The female deposits the last eggs, a final bet on genetic immortality, squeezing out every remaining drop of energy. The male collapses from exhaustion, searching for nectar he can no longer reach. Death is not a solemn event. It is a mechanical failure. The cold of the night hardens your body fluids one last time. You fall from the leaf. On the ground, you become part of the detritus. Ants, which you once dominated in size, now crawl over your compound eyes that no longer process images. They begin to dismantle you piece by piece. The poison you carried your whole life no longer matters. To the decomposers, you are just carbon and nitrogen returning to the soil to feed the next milkweed plant. No one will remember your epic journey. You were just a disposable vehicle for DNA, and your expiration date is up. You felt every instinct of this life. But nature doesn't stop. There is another skin waiting for you, other claws, other wings. A new way of seeing the world you can't even imagine. Your next incarnation has already been chosen. Do you have the courage to discover who you will be? If this life changed your perspective, strengthen the pack with your like. Share this unique vision of the world. And subscribe. Here, you are never the same for very long. Your new identity awaits you next week.